Well, I am grateful for this opportunity. Again, I am Jim Bruner. I am the Futurist farmer and alpha animal at Mezzacello Urban Farm in downtown Columbus, Ohio. And Mezzacello is a functioning farm that produces 30% of its own food. I can't produce any more. I just don't have enough land. It produces 40% of its water from the atmosphere, rain, and synthesis. It purifies that water. And I also produce all of the energy for my farm from solar panels, wind turbines, and chemical batteries, as well as water gravity batteries. And I've invented all of this because I'm fascinated by sustainability. And I've presented on here multiple times about sustainability, specifically how all of us can be part of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm not going to go into that. What this presentation is about is the role of play in STEM careers and why it's important for kids to play. And so I'll start this presentation, but before I do, I want to ask the audience here, are you familiar with the book Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Raise your hand if you've heard of it.
I thought it was a movie. I didn't know that there was a book.
Doll book, but it's also twice a movie. That is what Mezzacello is. So let me get started. Share and keynote. Boom. Give me a thumbs up if you can see this.
I can see it.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, this isn't it. This is Amaya's. I did 2 presentations yesterday. That's why I'm a little confused. This is it. The golden ticket. So let me play. So I call this presentation the golden ticket in reference to Willy Wonka, and it is the role of play in STEM careers, which is rather dry, but absolutely critical. And of course, the golden ticket is a metaphor. I'm not going to pay you gold. This is Mezzacello. You can learn anything you want about Mezzacello by just putting a .org behind that name, and that's my website. It's up in my logo as well. So about the golden ticket, it is how people interacted with the secret world of Willy Wonka. And it follows Charlie, who is a very, very poor child living in London at the time, who wins a golden ticket in a candy bar and joins 6 other people, I'm sorry, there were 7 total, who are terrible people. But Charlie is just Charlie, right? So I chose Charlie and Willy Wonka because I grew up, again, poor and lonely in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And the only thing I had to play with was my imagination and books. And this one always sticks with me because it's pre-Harry Potter, it's pre-Percy Jackson, it's the original kid that makes it work, right? So I created, when I had the opportunity to build Mezzacello, I decided I was going to actively build it as Wonka Land. And I imagine myself today as Willy Wonka, and the world, these children, the Global Innovation Field Trip, and the UN Climate Crisis Council as my Wonka Land. And you are all my Charlies. So this is a farm, and this is what it looks like. I'm constantly cycling through experiments. This is my biodome where I collect water, purify water, grow plants in the middle of Ohio's winter. And in the background, you can see the vertical axis wind turbines that are run entirely by traffic on the main street of my city. Buses, semis, they turn those, and that produces power. Everything is an experiment. Everything is open source. This is literally what my farm looks like outside my chicken coop yesterday morning. And if you're curious, there's my website. Everything I do is documented on that website. So unlike Wonka Land, which is a secret hidden away space, Mezzacello is open. You just have to have a ticket. This is a video I put together. I don't think you're going to be able to hear it over Zoom, so I won't play it. It is on my website, and I'll post it in the YouTube channel as well, because it's on YouTube. But it's explaining what Mezzacello is and why education is so important to me. So STEM or STEAM careers, it's always up in the air. Is it STEAM? You want to put art in there? I say you can't interact with any part of science, technology, engineering, and math without some ability to be creative and communicate. I think the art is baked into our humanity, and we sometimes might prefer to forget that, but no effective communication happens without that A. So I think we just have to activate it. So the secret to getting kids engaged with play and STEM careers is this. It's a frame. And technically, it's a reframe, where you have a problem and you reframe the problem for what you think it is to what it could actually be. So here's an example. How do we take plants to make them useful so we can turn them into fertilizer 3 months down the line? We dehydrate them. And kids were surprised how much would fit into a bag when you dehydrate it. And when you crush it, how much more would fit into a bag. So you can go from a huge bin to 1 pint, but it's powerfully potent. And all it took was just reframing the problem. Nature wants you to chew your food so you can digest more. So do I. I want you to compress the comfrey to make better comfrey fertilizer. Here's another example. We built an underwater robot because we were curious about what the life like was under my pond, which is 2 meters deep. And what we discovered was that the fish were spawning, and all these fish at the top of this image are babies. So we were about to have a population explosion that we would never have known about if we didn't think about putting an iPhone underwater. That's all this is. Then we built a robot for it. When the kids saw that picture, this is what they thought of. Coruscant, which is the capital of the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. And you can see the ships traveling over Coruscant are like those baby fish, traveling in their lane, traveling in the lane before. So from that one experiment, you get 6+ careers that they could totally latch onto and say, what would that look like? My personal favorite was the zoologist / xenozoologist, because what they asked, what is life going to be like in the waters of Europa? Which is something they looked up because they were now curious. If there's so much going on in a pond, what's happening on Jupiter's moon? I love that question. It's reframing the problem, making it bigger than what they are. So reframing a problem is innovation. It is the soul of innovation. All of us know we have to use failure. We allow that in children, in little children, but we kind of don't want it in kids when it's actually the most critical thing they need, right? We have to reframe what we think they need to see and reframe mistakes as useful data. I just brought this up to Donna Ali. It's useful data. If you don't know, find out. It's not a failure. It's a data point. And it makes learning appear, and it makes careers appear. So here's how the robot underwater Coruscant and 8 careers happened. It was super hot. It was 34 degrees Celsius here. There's a pond. They stuck their feet in it. I stuck a robot underneath and took a picture of them. And then they wanted to develop that robot further. That's where that robot came from. What does that actually look like? More than your phone. We want to be able to control it. It's relevance. Careers come from relevance. When kids can connect themselves to solving the problem, and I know you know this, Marcy. I know all teachers know this. We just don't know how to activate it all the time. It makes for better data. This is the next camp. The robot is built. This is my friend Samuel actively collating information from that robot, looking at the gills and testing water turbidity in real time in my biolab. STEM career piece is tied to them seeing themselves. They don't look very happy here, but I told them not to be because I wanted 2 pictures, but now I can't find a picture of them all excited and good. So this will work. Any career path requires 6 things, in my opinion: growth and opportunity, failure and opportunity, discomfort, necessary, practice, absolutely required, confidence and immersion, skill, and fun. If it's not fun, it's not going to be as relevant. So we go from what would it be like to live on Mars and explore the underwater oceans probably on Europa, Ganymede, and Io, to how do I get a golden ticket? And it's believe and find genius and respect genius when you find it. If you're an educator, be a Wonkaland. Create a place where kids can practice being themselves, being scientists, failing and choosing their own career based on what they love and knowing that it's okay not to be that thing all the time. So this is my Wonkaland. This is a map of Mezzacello, and all these colors, all 10 of them, are interrelated, integrated, sustainable ecosystems that all provide materials to each other. Very much like Wonkaland did. When you travel down that chocolate river, you're seeing where all the products come from. The only thing I don't have is Oompa Loompas, and those are replaced with Arduinos, automation, and robots. So be a Charlie for someone. Don't allow yourself to believe there's one right way to do anything. Be excited about different ways of becoming Charlie. The future needs fearless STEM leaders and careers. Don't be afraid to put yourself in a box and let the kids go. Don't be afraid. And I love this photo. And background on this photo, we engineered a floor is lava game where we put everything that they had to jump on scales, sensors that told us how much kinetic and potential force was on it. And they got more points if they were able to do it quickly and safely. And if they had to use other tools, they lost points. And it ended with them in this cage because they had to get into the cage backwards. And they convinced me to get in the cage and then lock me in there. I love that. What they didn't realize is I can take this cage apart from the inside out, but it's still a fun photo. And it's them being in control, which makes them feel powerful. I want powerful children. They change the future. Allow for curiosity, good and bad, and those STEM careers naturally emerge. This is a rabbit that one of my students, one of my interns, she's 11, correctly diagnosed with wet tail early. They sterilized the coop. She treated it with an antibacterial and painted it so that the fur would grow back. And now she's teaching other kids how to clip its nails safely. She learned everything she needed to know about rabbit physiology and how to keep them calm. And she did a killer job. She's going to make a terrific veterinarian one day. And more importantly, she knows it. So find or start your own Wonkaland. Just don't forget to include Charlie. And that is my presentation. And I'll answer any questions as either the futurist farmer or the alpha animal. Boom. Yay, I got through that.
Thank you. Amazing, amazing. I have so many little notes of ideas and thoughts and questions. It's interesting because I'm a proponent of STEAM, obviously adding the A, but having come from a medical career, my life is filled with acronyms, and acronyms in every profession might have the same letters, but mean completely different things. And transitioning into entrepreneurship and business from a medical background was always fraught with challenges because I'm like, are you talking about a heart attack? Like I don't know what the acronym means in this world. But it always makes me think about STEM and like, why did somebody put those 4 letters together? Why did they leave out art? Why did they leave out civics? Like, I mean, if you don't know history and you don't know culture and you don't know the people that you're designing for, then no matter what you engineer, it's not going to be as good as if you're thinking about it in the context of the world. So I always feel like so many subject silos in school that are unrelated in school, but then you put the kids out into the real world, and it's not like you go to the supermarket and you're only doing math. Like you're doing health, you're doing nutrition, you're doing art. Like you're looking at I am very well aware that I am a sucker for branding, and I'll pick the prettier picture on the package. Like there's everything in this. Just going into the supermarket, you have to use all of those skills. So I always find it interesting that someone took STEM and put those in one area and left out everything else.
I have anecdotal and opinion about it. And I also have a better way of thinking about it. So I think it was chosen STEM because all 4 of those can be monetized
Mm,
whereas the artistic impulse cannot.
mm,
In a factory, right? Building citizens that can science and use technology and engineering and math. And then that's perfectly fine. Our economy absolutely needs that. But I always come back to Winston Churchill when people asked him, well, we have to cut art funding. And he says, why would we do that? What's the point of even fighting this war if there won't be any beauty? And I think, one, that's extremely important. And I think we need to take it on ourselves to train ourselves and each other that art is always there. We respond to the beautiful. And I have an equation that I use called the law of sustainability. And it's super simple. It's 3 things you have to pay for as a ratio. 8 positive things should come out of that. That's sustainability, but it's not sustainable if that's all you do. Economics is useful, but it's a lie. Nonstop growth is not sustainable. So 3 to 8 is over 1 to 1.618, which is the natural number phi, which nature uses to control progression and proportion. Balance it. Balance it. Also, phi is the golden spiral. It is what makes everything relatable and beautiful. And I think those 2 things, that's how you integrate art into STEM. The second thing is reframe STEM from an acronym. Just stop. Think about it as what a plant needs to do whatever it's going to do to change the world. It starts with a STEM and everything comes off of that. Don't worry about the acronyms. Be that thing that is going to take all the horrible things in the atmosphere and turn them back into molecular oxygen and make an atmosphere and make everything possible. Start there. Start from positivity and growth, and don't worry about the skills, because the Charlie in us is going to find those skills in themselves to change the world. We have to empower and activate them to do that. That's my thought. Halibel, do you have any questions? Are there any questions at all?
I really find the analogy that you explained very, very, very interesting. And I do agree, especially with also what Marcy said about why we had to separate this. I guess one of the negative things that happened because of traditional school is that if you don't have passionate teachers in STEM, it doesn't come alive. It really is just the most boring thing ever if, teachers are just teaching without relating it to real world problems or art even. So I think that has been something that I struggle with as well, being a homeschool mom. Even if I know that these subjects can be integrated well, having not a strong background in doing that makes it harder for me to do that. So it's a challenge that we're always struggling with, but we're trying to do our best. And I hope that that's something that also is taken to improve the classroom experience.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I think one thing that you said that is interesting is that you might not have experience in certain areas. And I think that a lot of times teachers think that they have to know something to teach it. And I don't think you do. I would imagine that Jim, when that little girl came, I don't know what the bunny had because I don't know bunnies, but you may not have known that even existed, but she did. And it's okay as a teacher to say, as an educator to say, I have no clue, but let's figure out how to find that out, because this is something that you're interested in, and let's explore it. And you learn together. And you really are, you're not actually you have to commit yourself to learn together. Like you have to let that go, that you have to, just because you're the teacher, you're supposed to know. Like you're supposed to guide your children, your students to follow their passions and learn based on that. And to me, I mean,
metadata.
Every kid needs to read and write and needs to know math. Does every kid need to know calculus? I don't know. If they're passionate about bunnies and the disease of the nails, and they're going to learn how to learn and how to master skills and how to follow their passion, and they miss out on calculus because they did that, like they've learned life skills that will be applicable to their entire life, whereas calculus really is only applicable to certain parts of life. And I mean, what we want our kids to do is be passionate. And that was one thing on your list that I did think you left out. You wrote fun at the bottom, but passion. I do a lot of things that I don't find fun, but I'm passionate about them. And I do them because, and I go through the pain and the suffering because I want the outcome. So to develop a website or learn Photoshop, I did not want to do that, but I did it because I needed to share what I want to accomplish. What I wanted was to create a website that's compelling. So I think that's also important for kids to realize if they're passionate enough about something, they will go through the pain and suffering of learning a new skill or mastering something because they're so excited about that end result. And then your teaching becomes easier because you don't have to know calculus. All you have to do is tell them, oh, I think you need calculus to figure this one out. Off you go, figure it out. Like, that's on you. I'll guide you. I'll give you the book, but you figure it out.
So a quick backstory on that. The rabbit wasn't the original issue. It wasn't even the original issue. It was the chickens. One of the chickens was being bullied because the pecking order, it's a real thing, and looking at its butt and exposing the skin. And they've evolved to peck at red things. And inflamed skin is red. So the product that we use is called Blue Coat, and you spray that chicken so that it's not reflecting red anymore, and the chickens leave it alone. One of the girls, one of my other interns, saw that it has antibacterial properties. And so she took it upon herself to go look it up on one of my lab computers. I'm like, oh, actually, that is how you treat wet tail. So it was her idea to treat the rabbit with Blue Coat because she was working with someone else on chickens and saw, hey, I could use this here. She did all of the material research on her break. And I think that is the power of the fun, the play. And I agree with you, passion is important. But it's that metadata and that working together and inspiring each other and teamwork, which is really an important skill as well that we need to develop a lot more of, because everyone wants to be just Charlie and not Charlie and the chocolate factory. You have to incorporate everything. And I trick them into learning trigonometry because I have a device that I can, it's an armillary that you can find stars with, and it's 1 meter tall. And I put it in a specific place, and I put a laser pointer at a fence post, and they have to measure the distance from this point to that, and then tell me angle theta. That's the Wi-Fi password for the day. So they're furiously scribbling out calculus and trigonometry because that Wi-Fi is relevant to them.
Right.
But meanwhile, back at the ranch, they're doing complex maths because they want to, but they don't know it's complex maths until they need it. And I just think there's 1,000 ways. And I think, Marcy, you raised such a great point. Sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it's necessary. And I think if there's anything we can train kids to understand is that life is not always fun. Fun is a gift, and you can't have it all the time. You can't have happiness or sadness. They're all moments in time that belong to you, and you can curate, but you do it through STEM. You do it through learning and engaging.
Very well said.
I think I am out of time here, but wow, I appreciate this gift. Thank you. Ha! No pun intended. This is exactly what I wanted yesterday to be. Thank you very much.
It was an amazing presentation. And I guess just to add to that, I do agree that as educators, we don't have to know everything. And the amazing thing is having these kinds of programs and platforms as gift, because then we can be facilitators connecting our students to the people who actually can help them. And that is a gift, again, that we can give our students.
Absolutely.